Hello professionals. My name is Rico Aladdin and I am the founder of Professional Lunch. Today, for this episode of Professional Lunch, we have Dr. Nadeje Alexandre. Where can I start? Dr. Nadeje Alexandre is amazing. So, I'm going to give Dr. Nadeje a chance to introduce herself and tell me what she does. So, Dr. Nadeje, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, first of all, Rico, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
I really appreciate it. So I am the Assistant Dean of Student Success here in the College of Science and Math at NDSU.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So how did you get into teaching?
I got into teaching because when I was younger, it seemed to be what everyone, my parents, my teachers told me that I should do.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a pianist, I wanted to be a gymnast, a flight attendant,
Oh, really?
a writer, a philosopher, a tennis player. I wanted to do it all, but everyone always said, you should be a teacher. And so I think I incorporate counseling, psychology, teaching into my job, and I probably would have with whatever field I ended up doing.
Wow, wow. So do you enjoy teaching?
Well, that's not my main job.
Okay.
It just happens to be something that I'm asked to do. I'm more of administration, but I do enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy the most about teaching?
About higher ed administration, well, student development is my area of focus.
Okay, okay.
So that's basically how students grow and change in college, right? And what I love most about that is I love to see growth in students. I love to see growth in people, including myself. And it's the act of transforming and evolving, and I get to witness that transcendence. And so that's what I probably love the most. I love having a positive impact on my students, and knowing that my efforts and the efforts of my colleagues are helping them overcome barriers or excel in some way, or having this be a very positive and good experience in their lives, and we get to be a part of that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I am a little curious about, tell us a little bit more about your background. You know, your schooling, you know, your education, and, you know, stuff like that.
Okay, sure. Thanks for asking. These are really good questions that forced me to be reflective on your video.
Yeah.
So my background, so I went to college and I love to read.
Oh, that's good.
And French, as you know, is my native language, is our native language. And so in college, I majored in comparative literature and French.
Wow.
And I was planning on going to teach literature. And I got a job at Seattle University, and then I was teaching literature for a while in French, and then I worked at a behavioral school, and then in Seattle, I started to work on my master's in student development administration. Then I was hooked.
Wow. Because
one thing I really love about that degree, or any degree that has development in it, right? Psychological development, all right, child behavioral development. It helps, at least it helped me take a look at my own development and understand my own learning and behavioral patterns, right? So once you're able to really do that, it's much easier to be able to do that for others as well. So it was a very powerful degree in that I learned and I grew so much within myself.
Well, so you did your master's in what again? I'm sorry.
Higher ed administration.
Higher ed administration, and then
student development.
Student development, and you did your PhD after that.
After that, in educational leadership and advising and counseling.
And you did that in Seattle. So how, I mean, did that go about coming to Fargo, North Dakota?
Oh my goodness, I know, it's so far. From Seattle University, I was there for a long time, and I really appreciate it and really grateful for my experiences there. But after school, after I defended my dissertation, you know, I was far from my family, and I realized there was really, you know, no need for me to stay there. So I started to look to see if there were other opportunities, and I landed a senior advisor position and experiential coordinator position at University of Vermont, which was a great experience. Vermont is beautiful. My natural environment is really important to me. I thrive in beauty. So I worked there for a few years, and that was fantastic. And then this opportunity became available, and I thought, why not Fargo? It's going to be a great adventure.
Yes.
A great adventure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad. NDSU, and I understand. Before we go any further, I have to acknowledge your passion for painting and art. Tell me a little bit more about that.
You know, it's one of those things. I had parents who made my sister and I just really engaged in everything. So we had to play instruments and, you know, do art and sports, and just to be introduced to a lot of things that life has to offer. So I was very lucky and fortunate, and so I started painting, and I just do it for fun.
Wow.
And I have them in my home, and I brought some in my office.
Yeah, I can tell that there are some great pieces that, you know, and maybe at the end of the video, I'll take some shot of those to show the people who are going to listen or view this what I'm talking about. She is very talented. And she also plays music. Tell us a bit more about
my goodness.
Tell me a little bit more about the music, because, you know, you're a pianist, you play the piano, and I've seen you play, and, you know, it's pretty good. Tell me, what's the most fun you have playing music?
Thank you, Rico. I do enjoy piano. That's probably my strongest instrument. And then I also grew up playing the violin, and I started cello over the summer.
Yes.
So that's fun, too. You know, music is a very important part of my life, and I'm not that great at violin or, you know, and cello. I play like a beginner, but it's just the way I feel. And you're a musician too. The way it makes me feel inside is just so, it feeds my soul in a way nothing else does. And it's so important because I know what I need for you know, my own internal joy and, you know, work-life balance. I need that creative expression.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I got to tell you. This professional lunch, we are having this professional lunch at Dr. Nadeje's office, and I am so grateful to be here with her. So we're going to take a brief pause, and then we will come back with some of the things that Dr. Nadeje loves about what she does. And now we are back with Dr. Nadeje. And, you know, I gotta tell you, this is professional lunch. Right now, we are having oranges, we are having yogurt at her office. It is fun. So now we're gonna talk about some of the things Dr. Nadeje loves. Now, tell us, Dr. Nadeje, please tell us, what do you love about your profession?
Well, as I mentioned before, I love the impact that they have on students. I love to see their growth and transformation. But I have orange in my teeth.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Take your time.
But I think most importantly, it's fun. You know, I have a good time with my job. It doesn't always seem like work, and I know it's because I do bring a lot of flexibility to my job, and I'm somebody who needs that flexibility to be able to be creative. So, and like, I get to be creative. I get to develop programs around something I believe in, right? Student development. And I get to engage in great dialogue with colleagues and students, right? You come to my office a few times. And we have great conversations. And I get to work with people who share the same philosophy with me, and that's really important. You know, we have similar outlooks, same philosophy around, you know, students and life. So I think that's probably one of the most important things, the culture, in that regard.
Wow. Yeah. So tell me, give me an example of, maybe it can be a particular student that you have worked with. It can be maybe a group of students that you have work with, and then you see from the beginning, let's say of a semester, then you see the growth in them at the end of the semester. Can you think of an example of that?
Sure, daily. I mean, and two examples come to mind. One is I I just started a student peer advising mentor program.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So we have five peer advisors, and I got to create the description, hire the students and recruit them, and I created a training workshop, which I love to do. So in the training workshop itself is where I discuss, communication, positivity, compassion, emotional management skills and awareness, things that really I consider really important in communication, that help others grow, right, and meet their full potential. So so I try and give those tips. I do give those tips and in my training workshop to the students. So the students themselves as mentors are going to be helping other students with those skills, and they're going to be developing and growing themselves while they're helping somebody else.
Wow.
So yeah, I think the main goal that we have here in higher ed is to show students, teach students how to be supportive towards each other, and that way, to understand the importance of having a support network. That way they can go after college and work in jobs where they're, working in teams, have excellent team management skills and stuff like that. So that's one aspect. Another one is I teach a class called The Science of Learning. I co-teach it alongside our dean here, Dean Wallen, and we created the syllabus to really stress the importance of creating balance in our lives, right? The importance of prioritizing our health and well-being, and finding our inner joy and developing emotional intelligence, which is a big part of I think, managing our lives. So in living a life of purpose through self-awareness and reflection. So I want our students to be putting all of these skills into practice while they're still here in college. And so you can see those incremental growths as you see them or interact with them on a day-to-day, the way they carry themselves and so forth. So
yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So what would you say is the when you see the student developing that, would you say that gives you the greatest joy, that's a reward? That's rewarding, very rewarding.
Oh, absolutely, that's rewarding. It's rewarding itself, and it shouldn't, it goes beyond just the student, interaction with a student in the class. I mean that's just something that I value in life, period, with every interaction that I have. And so with students, we do have some students who are very high achievers. There are other students where they're the very first person in their families to go to school. There are students who had to work really hard to even get this opportunity. And so they're coming in here with various skill levels, with various experiences, different ones. And so, I think it's important to try and help all the students to find that balance, to be able to either take that pressure off or develop the skills they need to be confident and strong and, with minimal stress, inside and outside of college, within the community.
Yes. Oh man, I really enjoy that. Can you think of any other different example, any other different things that comes to what you love about your children?
I think one of the things I love is that I get to learn every day. I'm learning something new. There's a lot of reading and writing. That's a part of my job. I serve on a few committees where we're all working as a team, right? Towards towards retention, towards student experience. So, we have to come up with plans around that, how to make sure we're functioning at the highest level that we can. So I like that aspect of it too, is that I'm always learning. And that's really important to me too.
That's good. Now I am so glad that we're going to touch on a different part of the conversation. I want to know, what are some of the challenges that is in your area right now, in your profession right now? What do you think are some of the top challenges?
That's a really good question. So thanks for asking it. I probably should think about that more. It's hard for me to come up with examples because challenges to me are just a part of everyday life. I treat them, the way I would having a great conversation. It's just, just a part of it. I think what comes to mind are things like when when everyone is not on the same page, right? Yeah. When you're working in a group or within a department and everybody's not on the same page, I think it's really hard to get anything done. It's really hard to accomplish something when that's not, focused on to make sure everybody's on the same page. So, and then another thing is that communication gaps. I think you as a graduate, as a communication student might appreciate that. Yes. When there are gaps in communication, that's a big problem. Yes. When someone says one thing and other people or the other person hears something else, or there's, somebody interprets it differently. So we need a lot of clarity around our communication, because both problems that I mentioned affect efficiency. Yes. So if we want to be able to meet our goals and make the appropriate changes that we want to see to increase retention or increase the student experience, we have to make sure that we're meeting those goals. So mindful communication and emotional intelligence are help with those communication problems and things like that, and being compassionate.
Wonderful, wonderful. So can you think of, I know you mentioned that students that are not on the same level, what would you say to another teacher right now who's experiencing the same thing, students that are not on the same level? How do you manage to bring them to the same level? Do you have like some special tips and tricks that you use to bring students that are from different backgrounds? How do you manage to bring them to the same level so that they can make the most out of the class?
Okay, so you're throwing me off a little bit by saying the same level. I wasn't sure, but I think what you're trying to say is how do you make sure every student has a sense of belonging in the same way, right? Well, we want to make sure that we provide the space that's needed for students to build community with each other. So we need to step back a little bit and kind of trust them into developing those skills, but we have to provide the opportunity and provide the space, right? So something like our peer mentor program, is bringing students together. They're building relationships by meeting with each other and depending on each other. So they're building trust. All of those things. We have a fantastic learning assistant program where we have some students who are working in the classroom with the instructors to help them with these big, larger classes. So right there, students are engaging with each other, developing those relationships. And we have our ambassadors. So it's they're kind of like a student governing program that we have who work, who provide like service to the community and NDSU and keeping those ties together. So it's really just building community and having those opportunities in place for students to come together. So that means somebody who's coming from, a rural part of Minnesota, with maybe 10 other people in their graduating class, coming together with somebody from Chicago who had 500 in their class. They're coming together and they're meeting, and building community and developing relationship. Yeah, so,
coming from different backgrounds, and then for them that difference, and kind of bridge that at some point.
Yeah, because they will learn from each other. They will grow from each other because we all grow from diversity, right? We all grow through diversity. Yeah. So I think it's our responsibility to provide that space, and that's what we try to do here, especially in the College of Science and Math.
Wow, wonderful. Like as I said, we are at with Dr. Nadeje today. Dr. Nadeje touched on some very important point when it comes to student development, and I want to be a teacher someday. What advice do you have for future teachers, people who wants to go into the teaching, become professor? What advice do you have for a future teacher?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think you will be, or you are, an amazing teacher.
Oh, thank you.
One of the reasons that I say that is because you ask questions. You ask really good questions that prompt self-reflection. You saw me actually pause for a while and really think because you ask such good questions. And you listen. So those are important, and that's the most important thing. We want to make sure that we are empathetic listeners and compassionate. Students are receptive to those qualities and traits, when we have them, and that you encourage self-awareness. You model the behavior that you want to see in your students. So that is what's going to make a great teacher.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I hope even if you are not a teacher, you don't want to be a teacher, being able to listen is a very important part of communication. And I am so glad you touched on that today. And for those of you who are listening right now, my goodness, I don't know, Dr. Nadeje, thank you so much for such a great time. We had some oranges, we have some yogurt at her office. This is professional lunch after all. we have to chew on something. We eat something and then we talk about things. And that's how it always goes, regardless where we are. We are at NDSU at Dr. Nadeje's office, and we are so grateful that she provided her office for us to have professional lunch. Now, Nadeje, any last words you want to tell to everybody that is listening?
Oh, just thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with me.
Yes.
And this was really exciting.
Yes, yes.
And thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Nadeje, for being here today. And now, this is the part that I always tell you. It's up to you to make today a great day. So have a great day.